having said that, next gen car, let's talk about how we got here, right? So the sport, as I was in the competition space, ownership, impossible to keep going. We were going down a path of destruction. Every owner was a car parts manufacturer, every part and piece, and they were spending money on things that didn't make the racing better, and ultimately said, you got to save us from ourselves. What can we do here? We also looked at the ownership that we had in place. No new owners really coming into the sport. Impossible to even come into the sport. And you're probably going down a path where 2 or 3 guys, won every race, and not a path we wanted to be on. So the idea around the next gen car was, can we come up with a model that brings the cost down, brings some new ownership in, shores up the current owners, to at least make it where you have a viable pathway to go forward. Not perfect, right? But we brought in all the race teams. We talked about, RFP in every part and piece on the car. Where do we want to race? What could we do? How would this model work? And for the most part, if you look at short term, the racing certainly challenged, short tracks, road courses, the intermediates. I mean, I came from a time, if you put one more intermediate on I'm going to kill you, right? Yeah. And now, why don't we have more? Why aren't we going back to the Coke 600? Why are we at the Roval, right? All those conversations. So that's good. We got to fix the short track stuff. But then you look at future. We're always open to change. So tires, I think they're moving. Aero. The one piece that I really look at, and I think our group does, is you've got this car, you've got some things contained from a cost standpoint, but what does everybody really like, right? It's the ability for a team to maybe tweak on the car, find an advantage, do something cool. What's the next iteration of that could come from a race team? Now that we've got the parts and pieces, I think long term you could look at maybe a race team, is making parts again. Maybe some different things you can open up. Could you ever look at a cost cap, right? Yeah. So where you open those things up. But we've at least kind of stopped the wasteless spend. And now we want to get it back to where, engineer can come in, tweak on a car, or OEM can say, hey, this is my IP. I want to drive something, from a Ford or new technology standpoint. So we're absolutely open to continue to tweak on it. I think we just had to almost stop the bleeding of the cost, and now really concentrate on, you got the baseline, make the racing better every single day.
The car is, though, still relatively expensive. When I look at the next gen, the technology is incredible. But the identity, I think, of our sport has been a sport with some physicality. And while these cars and the drivers are still driving them in such a way, and I wonder if it was as when I look at the car personally, I wish it wasn't so technology. I wish it wasn't so advanced.
More old school. Yeah,
I look at even parts and pieces, and what it must cost to to make an A-frame or the whole hub assembly on the car. And I kind of wonder if it has gotten easier for somebody to come in and participate. And the teams will say, you hear some teams say that things aren't, they hadn't seen the benefits, of the
yes and
of
no,
what this
right?
car would do financially.
I mean, you've seen Penske come out on the record for us. I mean, Justin Marks going out there winning races, 2311. Yeah. 2311 came into this sport because of the next gen car. So that's what so it's not perfect by any means, but I think the baseline when I talk about that, could you get back to some of those old school parts or whatever? I think you can now. What happened with us is there wasn't a lot of great trust between our competition group and the teams, right? We've done a lot of work to, I think, improve that, have some good dialogue. And it was at a point where we asked the teams to kind of participate in, hey, do you want to make this specific part? And it financially didn't make a lot of sense, right? And probably wasn't a lot of trust back and forth either. Fast forward now to where those conversations are happening. Like, hey, what if? Could Roush make this? Could someone else make this part? And I think that starts to potentially open it up. Not sure we'll get there, but I agree with you. I mean, getting back to that identity of what it is versus just this car over here that no one kind of put together. There's some work to do there, but It's tough to argue with some of the racing that's going on, some of the drivers that are out there, but we can certainly improve. That's what we want to do, man.
I would say it's like the car standing next to one of those cars physically is amazing. It's a badass race car, but it's like trying to race a Ferrari at a local short track. Yep. It just there's a bit of a disconnect, I think, in terms of the cost, of what it is to put one of those things together and then to send that thing out on the racetrack at Martinsville.
Yep.
Just doesn't make sense in my head. But
we'll work on that.